All right, guys, so it needs to be said, there's a lot of funky stuff going on with Trump, with Epstein, not just when it comes to the disgusting sexual perversion and criminality side, but also when it comes to their money, right? And there's been speculation for a long time that, man, Trump is engaged in money laundering of some sort. He's definitely engaged in money laundering of some sort. First, I want to go back and show you this. This was from November, and this is Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, basically talking about what we had on Epstein at the time. Listen to this.
Last year, the Biden administration allowed our investigators to look at portions of the file. We did that at the Treasury building. Here is what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking.
You know, as we discussed, this is a honeypot operation, a blackmail operation, and that's where a lot of his money comes from. But there's also speculation that he was also doing money laundering. He was also plugged in big time, as you all know, with, you know, powerful governments and powerful figures all around the world, okay? But then we also have this. So this was flagged recently. I wanted to share this with you. The Trump administration paid $128.5 million for this warehouse that sold less than 2 years ago for $29 million to use as an ICE internment camp. Who's the owner of the warehouse? PNK, LLC, a subsidiary of Russia-based PNK Group. Okay? So that is not a normal discrepancy there. Even if there was nothing on the property and then you built the concentration camp on top of the property, to sell it, to pay $128.5 million when it was worth $29 million 2 years ago, that does not fucking add up. The numbers are not adding up there. And then that reminded me of this, and we discussed this recently on the show, but it's important to bring up again. Ready? Epstein confirms Trump knew about his activities and hints at Trump's Russian money laundering. Redacted worked at Mar-a-Lago. Trump knew of it and came to my house many times during that period. The testimony of houseman John Alessi confirmed it. And then, like I said, we went through this email once before, this Jeffrey Epstein email once before. I'll zoom in a little bit here for you, but this is from Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff. And he discusses here, basically, there was a brief period where Trump and Epstein broke up. Okay, well, they got back together later on. There was a brief period where they broke up. And the breakup was over this piece of property in Palm Beach. And what happened was Epstein had expressed to Trump, I'm going to buy that property. Okay? And Trump bought the property out from underneath Epstein. And so the gist of the story here is Trump paid like $36 million or $40 million or something for this house, basically stole it out from underneath Epstein, and that pissed Epstein off. And then what Trump did is he ended up reselling the house for like $95 million or $100 million, okay? So again, he paid like $36 million, $40 million for the property. He ended up selling it for nearly $100 million at the peak of the Great Recession, the subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. Understand something. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Ain't no way you'd pay $36 million for it in a good market and then you sell it in a way worse market for $100 million. So people did some digging and they found out the person who bought it is basically a Russian oligarch who's this fertilizer magnate, okay? And what Epstein points out here is that's fucking money. That's what that is. That's money laundering. Epstein has also made claims of basically financial crimes at Mar-a-Lago, that there's fuckery going on with the mortgage at Mar-a-Lago. He's made that claim as well. And he happens to know some of the finer details of the financial situation with Mar-a-Lago too, okay? But here's a great example. Nobody's come up with a good explanation. Hey, how could it be you bought it for 36 or 40 million, you sell it for nearly $100 million at the peak of the Great Recession? That doesn't add up. It's because it was money laundering. He was cleaning money for this Russian oligarch, right? And then everybody, you go back and you find out very quickly, Trump had deep mob connections. I mean, his lawyer in New York, Roy Cohn, was the mafia's lawyer. And he learned a lot from Roy Cohn, by the way. He learned Darvo from Roy Cohn, that you never admit any fault. You always go on the offense. You always flip it and reverse it on him, okay? And so this is what people are talking about now. It appears like there's money laundering. Now, Trump, a lot of his money came from criminality, came from mob connections, came from money laundering, okay? And then also, a lot of his wealth came from being too big to fail because the banks made a bad bet on him. And for that, I go to this amazing PBS Frontline documentary from years ago. But listen to this. This is incredible. And a lot of people don't know this. There's a lot of people out there who don't follow politics closely, and they just thought, oh, Donald Trump, he's a good businessman. His name's on a lot of shit. When I think of Trump, I think of successful businessman. I think of boss CEO guy. Well, it turns out it's all a fucking mirage. Of course it's a mirage. Listen to this.
Burdened by debt, the Taj would not turn a profit. By that winter, as Rothman predicted, the casino was in serious trouble.
His business condition was terrible, worse than terrible. We were in a deep recession and people weren't going to Atlantic City. So the revenue stream from Atlantic City, the Taj Mahal, and the other casinos was poor.
Trump's other investments had not fared much better. The Plaza Hotel, a financial disaster. The airline Trump Shuttle was bleeding money.
He sort of blamed the people around him for what went wrong instead of himself.
He started blaming people, he started firing people, started yelling at people. He said, I can be a screamer, and he certainly was, according to various accounts.
Trump had long cast himself as a winner. Now he was looking like the loser.
I think that the downtime for him was really a shock, and he was not prepared for it. It caught him totally off guard, but it was probably the biggest challenge of his life.
The Donald is facing an incredible cash crisis.
Big troubles for Donald Trump.
Trump and his companies owed more than $3 billion, much of it to the banks that had fueled his spending spree.
As quickly as the banks loved him, that's as quick as they saw him as a pariah. He was like, ugh, it's Donald Trump. They didn't want to have anything to do with him. They wanted their money and they wanted to be rid of Donald Trump.
The bankers descended on Trump Tower.
Bankers held gigantic meetings at Trump Tower with like 40 banks all sitting around in a room. Donald very sober, looking like not quite penitent perhaps, but serious.
When you were talking to him in these meetings, it just didn't seem that he had any idea how big the problem was or how it would be resolved. But he, as far as being a CEO, in understanding numbers and understanding the ramifications, it doesn't seem like he took economics or accounting in college.
Donald Trump's assets are on the line. Citibank and Trump's other lenders are working on
the bankers faced a fundamental decision.
The Trump Organization confirmed today.
It was at a time when we all were trying to figure out, is it better off this guy being alive financially, or is it better off having him dead financially?
As they stared into the Trump Organization's abyss, the banks came to believe that Trump's assets, the buildings, the casinos, were worth more with his name on them than in foreclosure.
If they were to take Trump out of it, they would no longer have the name for the casinos, which was a tremendous part of their allure. Otherwise, basically, what could they do? Liquidate and take a tremendous hit.
The brand was worth now so much that bankers were willing to take a haircut in order to hang on to the name.
The Trump princess is said to have a price.
They sold the yacht and the airline.
Trump, they have to unload the Trump.
Which, by the way, look into that yacht, the Trump princess. There's a disturbing story in the Epstein files about what that yacht was used for, okay? Do yourself a favor, look into that. We actually covered it on the show a little while ago.
And they put Trump on a $450,000 a month allowance. In exchange, he would continue to promote the business.
I think bankers look at Trump as a promoter, not as a CEO. At least that's the way I looked at him. And if you talk to other bankers, I think they share that opinion. He's a wonderful promoter. He's the P.T. Barnum of the 21st century.
Donald Trump may have pulled off his biggest deal to date.
Donald Trump had survived.
So there's this old saying, if you owe the bank $100, that's your problem. If you owe the bank $100 million, that's their problem. And that's kind of what happened here, is that he got too big to fail. There's a track record of this, man, especially when you look at this family. Look at Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner also made a horrible real estate investment in New York City. I think it was like the most expensive sale ever, okay? And then he ran into massive financial trouble. And the way these things usually work, in this case, the banks had to suck it up and bail him out and deal with him because he was too big to fail. But in the Jared Kushner case, Like, this is where the Saudis can come in, or the Emiratis can come in, or the Qataris can come in, or the Israelis can come in, or the Russians can come in. And they go, oh, we'll save you. We'll save you. But there might be some strings attached, right? And this is where you get now this family, phenomenally politically connected, you know, mafia connections, Russian oligarch connections, Israeli connections, Saudi connections. And now it's like, who the fuck are they representing? That they get in a financial pickle, they get bailed the fuck out by some shadowy entities, and then those entities have you on lock. And it's not a coincidence, by the way, that they've never said no to Israel. The Trump regime has never said no to Israel. They moved the embassy to Jerusalem. They let them steal the Golan Heights. They're now letting them annex the entire West Bank. They did a fake ceasefire in Gaza and then let them continue the genocide and the ethnic cleansing. They've never said no to Israel. Go look at the financial connections between Jared Kushner and the Trump family and Israel. Never mind the $100 million Mary Madelson gave Trump. But all of this is connected. All of this is connected. These are shitty business people in over their heads. It's not difficult for organized crime or for fucking oligarchs or for foreign governments, for billionaires to come in and say, oh, I'll save you, but then you got to do for me. I did for you, you got to do for me. Okay, well, what is that? Well, I need another massive tax cut. I need another massive subsidy. I need favoritism. I need no bid contracts. I need this foreign policy thing done or that foreign policy thing done. This is how it works. This is how it works. And Jared Kushner owes these people, and Donald Trump owes these people. And so, effectively, what you have here, again, it's a shadow government of moneyed interests that actually run the world. And it's all connected. Epstein's connected. It's a cabal of pedophile, rapist, billionaire sadists who run the world. And in this instance, they have these guys by the balls, bro. They have this whole family, they have them by the balls. Trump is a con man. He's a fraud. He's never fucking been successful. He was born super wealthy and, you know, just sold his name effectively. Mix that with some fucking criminal connections and money laundering, and here we are today. And he pulled off the biggest scam in human history and got into the White House twice. But now you're realizing the end result of having them bought and owned by these other entities. He ain't doing shit for the American people. You're hung out to dry while all he's doing is representing the billionaires. All he's doing is representing the Epstein class and the Israeli government and the Saudi government. Okay? It's never been more clear what's going on.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.